The winning blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
As we continue to go, Slates King, we find ourselves upset of the day occurred in Minnesota as the Vikings hosted the San Francisco 49ers. Now, not many people, including myself, had this one on their sheet. But I gave you every reason why this could occur. And I told you if on Wednesday's episode, if you were watching, when I did my Soul Survivor segment, I told you that this could happen. Now, of course, I didn't have the balls to pull the trigger on it, but I told you, stay away from this game. If you're in a survivor pool, don't go near this game because what could happen and exactly what ended up happening. I told you one of these games, the San Francisco 49ers were going to have 2 or 3 turnovers. They had 3 turnovers. I told you this is a very deliberate offense that has no problems putting up 16 points. Well, they scored 13 points. This is what the 49ers are. And the thing about the 49ers that a lot of people aren't taking into consideration and aren't accounting for is they're not a team that can come from behind. They need to play with the lead. So this was the first time this season that they had to come off the pace and catch somebody. They had to play from behind. They weren't able to play with the lead. And it was good to see what they were going to do when put in that situation. And we saw that they're at a disadvantage when they have to come from behind. I thought Christian Ponder came out and he showed exactly why he was a first-round pick 2 seasons ago. He was a top 15 pick, and a lot of people question whether he was supposed to be taken that high or if he was even a first-round selection. I loved Christian Ponder at Florida State. I loved him in college. The only question I had was, could he stay healthy? He's done so thus far in the NFL. He's had a few nicks and bruises, missed a few games, but nothing serious. If he can stay healthy, bypass that concussion bug, he's going to be a good one in this league. The NFL is in good hands with their young quarterbacks right now. He's one of the good ones. If he can just continue to stay healthy, the Vikings have a player on their hands. He was excellent in this game, making good decisions, getting rid of the football when he needed to. When there was a lane to run, he tucked it, and boy, did he run. And he really picked apart this San Francisco 49ers defense, excuse me. He really picked them apart. And what was very interesting in this game is that the 49ers, they were beaten at their own game. I thought the 49ers came out and they were un-49ers like. The first 7 out of 8 plays were passes. They did not run the ball with Frank Gore as much as they should have in this game. And Frank Gore was having success. He was averaging up over 5 yards a carry in his football game. And he was running the ball very effectively, but they didn't run the ball enough. They gave the ball to Alex Smith. He had 35 passing attempts. When is the last time you can remember Alex Smith having 35 passing attempts? When is the last time you can remember the San Francisco 49ers winning a ball game with Alex Smith having over 35 or 30 passing attempts? It doesn't happen often. They don't ask that much of Alex Smith. And you see why. Alex Smith threw his first interception in over 246 pass attempts. The reason why he threw an interception was because they were behind. He had to throw the football. And the more you throw the football, the more susceptible you are to turning it over via interception. I've said that more than my fair share of times. I say that time and time again. And they asked a lot out of Alex Smith, and it backfired. They needed to stay with the game plan, although they were behind in this game. They got behind 14-3 early in this ball game, but they still should have stayed with the running attack of Frank Gore. Go off, play action fake, keep this Vikings defense honest, and make them stop the run first and then try to get to them in the passing game. They went away from the passing game and they came out passing. Let's not act like they fell behind and then just went to the passing attack. They didn't pass to start this game, and it continued throughout. And they turned the football over. They didn't score points. The Vikings controlled time of possession. They did everything the 49ers normally do to their opponents. They controlled time of possession. They ran the football. Even though it wasn't overly effective, it was effective enough. Adrian Peterson had over 20 carries for less than 100 yards, but it didn't matter. He had 86 yards rushing. Didn't matter. They ran the football, kept that 49ers offense honest. Christian Ponder had an excellent game, did not turn the football over, picked his spots. When it was there, he took it. When it wasn't, he ran or he threw it away. And they beat the 49ers at their own game. 49ers turned the football over, did the same thing that they do to teams. They had it done to them. They didn't know how to respond. And so you end up with a Vikings 24-13 victory at home against the previously unbeaten 49ers. So now both of these teams are 2-1 on the season, and the Vikings notched a big win at home. And I laughed at Ziggy Wilf when he said, hey, we're going to win the division. I laughed in his face. Maybe he's on to something. Now, look, don't get carried away. It's an early season victory. It's a good one. But it's a long way to go in this season. But if the Vikings can play this brand of football throughout the course of the season, they're going to be a tough team to contend with. I mean, they played really good football against the 49ers on Sunday afternoon. As for the 49ers, this was bound to happen. They were due for a loss. They were due for a game where they weren't clicking. They were due for a game where they were going to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times. I said it was going to happen, and when it happened, it was going to be on the road, and it happened. You bounce back, you move forward. There's only one loss. The 49ers are still one of the better teams in all of football, and so you just move on. But big win for the Vikings. Both of these teams are 2-1, and so we'll see how these teams respond after this game. If the Vikings ascend after this game, do the 49ers bounce back? We'll see in the upcoming weeks how this game affects these two teams. But big win for the Minnesota Vikings, 24-13 over the San Francisco 49ers. Next up on the slate, we find ourselves in a wild, wild west shootout between the Detroit Lions, who are on the road against the Tennessee Titans. Again, another game that on my preview, this time on Friday, when talking about these games, I told you, I struggled with this one. I really did. This was the one that I skipped over, took 5 minutes, came back at the end, and spent another 5 minutes trying to decide who to pick. And I told you, you look at this game and you say, pick Detroit, move on, what is there to think about? I said, not so fast. This Detroit Lions team is a team that can be beaten on the road. Is a team that you look at them and for some reason, I can't quite put my finger on it. They're a team that if they get in the wrong situation, they can be beaten. And I thought that this Tennessee Titans team looked solid in week 1, even though it was a blowout loss to the Patriots. They looked solid. I thought that they had, another chance at home in week 3. They looked terrible on the road last week in San Diego. But I said, Jake Locker at home is a different quarterback. I thought he looked solid in week 1 against the Patriots. I said, him coming back home might be the remedy, the antidote that this team needs. And I thought that this defense, they've been gashed in the first 2 weeks, but I thought it was more so that the offense wasn't doing their part and it was putting a lot of pressure on his defense. I thought they had a chance against these Lions. Again, I was right. Didn't have the balls to put it down on my sheet. But again, I'm a show me guy. And so I don't blame myself for making these teams show me what they're about. You have to show me. You have to earn my trust. You have to show me that you can get it done. And that's what the Titans set out to do on Sunday, and that's what they did. I thought that they came out. Jake Locker was impressive in this football game. Boy, was he impressive. I mean, he showed you all the tools that he has in his bag. He pulled them all out. He showed you the arm strength. He showed you the accuracy that we questioned in the pocket. He showed some of that. He showed the accuracy that we knew he had outside the pocket. And he showed the ability to put that ball away and run. He showed us that 4.5 speed. I saw it. This was the first time I really got to lay eyes on that 4.5 speed that he ran at the combine a few years ago. He was on display. On that one run that he had that was about 45 yards, he took off and he ran by some guys and made them look like they were standing in place. He was moving on that run. He can run. And he was impressive. That pass to Jared Cook down the field, he put that on a rope. That was a tough throw. He gave Jared Cook a chance to catch that ball and make a play afterwards. And I told them, you got to get the ball to Jared Cook. That's a mismatch nightmare for most teams. He's a big tight end that can move. Get the football to Jared Cook. I told them that already. It paid dividends for them. You look at this Detroit Lions team, and they just were struggling on the offensive end. They had every opportunity to score points, and they just kept kicking field goals, and kicking field goals. Let me say one thing about this Detroit Lions team. Jason Hanson is a monster. I love Jason Hanson. What is he, 60 years old? And their punter goes down, who doubles as their kickoff guy. So what does Jason Hanson have to do? Not only does he have to kick field goals, in which he made every field goal that he attempted, and we're not talking about 23 and 20. He made a 47. He made a 54. He's like 60 years old, still kicking 54-yard field goals with ease. But then he had to double as a kickoff guy, and he had to punt. Get some respect. Get some kudos to Jason Hanson, man. He's getting it done out there at the age of like 69. Jason Hanson is still doing it at an elite level in this league, and he had to do it all as a kicker. We don't give enough love to kickers, especially ones that get their job done, go about their business quietly, and don't say a word like Jason Hanson has done for over 20 years. Give the man some love. Give him some respect. You have my respect, Jason. Hope that counts for something. You are the man. Back to the football game, however. And I thought that the Lions struggled on offense, but I will say this. They have found them a running back in Mikel Leshoure. What a debut for Mikel Leshoure. They've waited for over a year and a half for this. He finally plays, and they got more than they expected out of Mikel Leshoure in his debut. He looks like the guy that they drafted. They got everything out of him and then some. Every yard that is there, he gets it, and then he gets a little bit extra on the side as well. What a tandem he would make with Jahvid Best. If you're the Lions, you would love to see that, but I wouldn't count on it. If I'm the Lions, I say you draft someone in this upcoming draft to be a 1-2 punch with him, because if you get a little bit of speed with Mikel Leshoure's inside power running, this Lions team could use that kind of attack on the ground. We know what they can do through the air. But Mikel Leshoure on the ground, this is just what the doctor ordered for this Detroit Lions offense. They need someone to get it done on the ground for them. I thought he came in and he really gave them a boost on the offensive end on the ground. But looking at the Lions in this game, they gave up too many big plays. They gave up too many big plays to win this football game. You look at the touchdown to Jared Cook, big play. That had to be over 50 yards. Down the field, catch after the run, touchdown. You look at the Nate Washington play. What a heck of a grab by Nate Washington. That was so athletic, so gifted of a play by Nate Washington. I tap my imaginary cap to you. That's a hell of a catch, buddy. And to go over the defender, snatch it off of him. He didn't even know where the football is, and then have the presence of mind to just take off. Touchdown, Titans. Had to be over a 60-yard reception. Another big play for the Titans. You look at Darius Raynaud. He played his way onto this Titans roster in the preseason, doing exactly what he did on Sunday. Running back kickoffs, running back punts for touchdowns. He ran a 102-yard kickoff return for a touchdown at a time when the Titans desperately needed a score. The Lions had went up in this game by a touchdown, and they needed a score desperately. The Lions were up for the first time 27-20 in this ball game. And he came down and answered immediately with a 102-yard kickoff return, tied this game up. Another big play for the Titans. You turn around and you look at Alterron Verner, cornerback for the Titans, snatches the football away from a loose Brandon Pettigrew. Just it had the ball loose in his foot in his grasp, And Werner reached in, give me those cookies. Touchdown. You know, what looked like a game-clinching play at the time. Put the Titans up by 14 late in this ball game. Thought that was going to be it. Stafford was injured. They put in Sean Hill. You're thinking, okay, the game's over. 148 remaining. This game's done. Not so fast, my friends. I think the Lions might have the best quarterback situation in all of football because Sean Hill came in steady as ever, takes them down the field, scores a touchdown late. You're thinking, okay, no more timeouts. Less than, 40 seconds left in the ball game. This game's over. They're going to kick an onside kick, not get it. Game over. Not so fast. The Lions get a beautifully executed onside kick by guess who? Jason Hanson. That they recover. They take that. Hail Mary. Titus Young answers a prayer. Hail Mary is answered by Titus Young. It's batted down and right into the waiting arms of Titus Young, who dives into the end zone, ties this game up at 41, go to overtime. With our new overtime rules, the Titans get the ball first, kick a field goal, but the other team gets to respond to an opening field goal score. If it was a touchdown, game's over. But a field goal, you get a chance to go down and score a field goal or touchdown of your own and win the game. Titans score their field goal. Lions get the ball, drive all the way to the Titans 7-yard line, get stopped, 4th and 1, have an opportunity to kick a field goal and extend the football game. Instead, they decide to go for it. And yeah, they went for it. You listen to head coach Jim Schwartz. He's saying, oh no, the crowd noise was loud. They made a mistake, snapped the ball. We were going out there to try to draw them offsides. What do you say to save face when you make a mistake? You say exactly what Jim Schwartz said. Yeah, we went to just try to draw them offsides and see if we can get a free play out there, get a first down. But we had no intentions of snapping the football. We were going to kick the field goal. I have a hard time believing that veteran center Dominic Raiola, who's been in this league over 10 seasons, snapped this ball with the instructions that you gave him to not snap the ball. I have a hard time believing that. So, unless he thought someone was offsides and snapped it in anticipation of getting a flag, I have a hard time believing that he would snap the ball. And so you say what you want to say, Mr. Schwartz. I say you made a mistake and you tried to cover your behind by telling us the crowd was loud. Whatever the case may be, you cost your team a game. You lose to the Titans 44-41 in a thriller on the road in a game that you had opportunities to win and probably should have lost before overtime, but your team gutted it out, gave a very gutsy performance, got it to overtime, but just didn't do enough. You gave up too many big plays. You didn't deserve to win this game. And ultimately, the football gods made sure you didn't come away with this one. 44-41, the Titans get their first victory of the season. And the Lions drop to 1-2, a disappointing 1-2 on this young season. And for the Titans, Chris Johnson still is a mystery. He's still a non-factor. I didn't get an answer. You didn't give me an answer. There's questions to be answered about Chris Johnson and why he's not a bigger part of this offense. We won't discuss that right now. We'll talk about that later. But there is something going on there. And I think I got a handle of what's going on. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Titans get the victory, however. Move their record to 1-2. And the Lions are now 1-2 as well. All right, next up on our slate, we find ourselves out in San Diego. And this was a big one for me because I thought that the Chargers were going to put up some type of fight in this game. And ultimately, being home was going to pay dividends for them in the way of a win. Couldn't have been more wrong. Couldn't have been more wrong. The Falcons came on the road to San Diego, and they put the hammer down. They laid the gauntlet down on the San Diego Chargers. I mean, the Chargers did not stand a chance in this football game. From the opening whistle, the Falcons came out, set the tone, got to Phillip Rivers, made him uncomfortable, forced turnovers from Phillip Rivers, and I thought the addition of Ryan Matthews in that backfield was going to help them be a welcome addition back. and allow Phillip Rivers to go play action fake, find guys down the field, make a difference. Nope. Nope. Didn't matter. Falcons are on a mission. Matt Ryan is on a mission. He was extraordinarily efficient in this game. Matt Ryan is playing out of his mind right now. 30 of 40, 3 touchdowns. I think he had 1 turnover, if my memory serves me correct. Didn't matter. They were playing lights out football in San Diego. They beat them up in every form of facet of this game. They beat them up on special teams, beat the brakes off of them on defense. Phillip Rivers was flustered, made mistakes. They never really threatened this Atlanta Falcons team. And the Falcons executed to perfection on the offensive end. Matt Ryan carved them up. Turner Burner was running the football on the ground. Got a little bit of help from Jacquizz Rodgers. They just did what they wanted to do in this football game. It's not a lot to talk about because the Falcons were the dominant team. They went on the road. Tony Gonzalez ate these guys up. I think he had a flashback to his Kansas City days because he just went to work on his San Diego Chargers secondary all day. Did not have an answer for him, nor did they have an answer for either one of those receivers. And Matt Ryan carved these San Diego Chargers up on the defensive side of the ball. I thought they had played well up until this point on defense, did the Chargers. They didn't show up on defense. And what this did was it put this game put in perspective what the Chargers are. They're a nice team. They're a good team. They're a solid team. They're not a great team. They're not going to beat the upper echelon teams in this league. They're not going to do it. Whether they're home or away, they're not good enough to beat the better teams in this league. And that's okay. They're a solid team that if they play another team that's solid or a team that's subpar, they're going to win. But when they play the upper echelon teams, they're not ready. They don't have enough talent. They don't have enough there to get it done. It was evident from the opening kickoff, and the San Diego Chargers got embarrassed at home by the Atlanta Falcons, 27-3, taking the Falcons to 3-0 and dropping the Chargers to 2-1 on the season. They still lead the AFC West with that 2-1 mark, but that was a very underwhelming performance by the San Diego Chargers. And that gives it a different perspective in that division of who has a chance. Look, that division is wide open. And the Broncos aren't as good as everyone thought they were. And so with the Chiefs winning, the Raiders winning, we got a brand new division out there in the AFC West. And it's up for grabs, and anybody in that division has a chance. And so we'll see what this loss does to the Chargers' psyche moving forward. The Falcons are on fire right now. And they're looking like one of these teams that can be the class of the NFC right now. They're playing inspired football right now. And they're on a mission. They get it. They know what this regular season means for them. They want home field advantage. They know they're going to the playoffs. They're a triple P now. They've established themselves as a triple P. They know that this regular season means a lot, but it counts in the playoffs. And so they're building towards that. They're on a mission. And if you get in their way and you're not ready to step up your level of play when you play the Atlanta Falcons, you're going to get trampled over. And that's what happened to these San Diego Chargers. This Atlanta Falcons team right now is very dangerous. They're 3-0 on the season. And look out, NFC. These Atlanta Falcons are for real. This next game on the slate was my upset special. And I don't know if it was an upset to everyone, but I think it was an upset to many. But nobody really expected this game to get out of hand the way that it did. And that's the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Arizona out in the desert to take on these Arizona Cardinals. These Cardinals dominated this football game from the start of this game to the finish of this game. The Eagles did not stand a chance. I give all the credit in the world to Ken Whisenhunt. What a job he is doing out in Arizona this year. I mean, he's did an excellent job since taking over as their head coach. And that goes without saying. He changed the whole culture of the Arizona Cardinals from a losing franchise to one that believes that they can win every season. But look, coming into this season, they had a mess at quarterback. And who had any expectations for this Arizona Cardinals team? I already told you, for some reason, I can't put my finger on it. I can't explain it. I have affinity for the Arizona Cardinals. I always keep an eye out on what the Cardinals are doing out there. I think I love Patrick Peterson. I love Larry Fitzgerald. And I don't know if it's just because of those guys. I love watching them play or what. I just have a thing for the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not a Cardinals fan. I'm a Redskins fan. But I just always keep tabs on what the Cardinals are doing. And I just felt like this was a game that they could win because this Philadelphia Eagles team turns the football over way too much. And then you also have to throw in the fact that Andy Reid sometimes gets a little bit pass happy. Forgets that they have one of the best running backs in all of football on his team and don't feed him. And that's what they did. It was a combination of those two things that helped the Arizona Cardinals go out at home and dominate. Michael Vick had 36 passing attempts to LaShawn McCoy's 13 rush attempts. Terrible balance by the Philadelphia Eagles. And the bad part about it was Shady was running the football effectively. I mean, we're talking about averaging well over 5 yards a carry. They didn't feed him the football, and they had to pay for it. Michael Vick, less than 50% completion percentage, turned the football over. That shot before halftime that he took and that fumble, that was a game changer. That was a season changer. I mean, that was a shot he took. Whew! I mean, and for the Cardinals to recover that, that's a 14-point swing. If the Eagles score right there, it's a different game. Instead, they fumble. The Cardinals scoop it up. No time left on the clock in the first half. Running in for a touchdown. 90 some odd yards the other way. Big momentum swing in the game and really put the Eagles away in that football game. They couldn't recover after that. The Cardinals was a dominant team, harassing Vic all day long. They didn't run the football enough. I thought it was a great bounce-back game for Ryan Williams. I thought he ran hard. He was effective. When yards were there, he got them, and he made things happen in the running game. He just has to hold on to the football. I think he has to gain the trust of Ken Whisenhunt because he's fumbled too many times this season already, and this season is very young. But if he can hold on to the football, he's dynamic. And they're not going to stop giving him the football, but he can lose carries if he can't hold on to the football. He did a good job of holding on to the football in this game. And so I thought that Kevin Kolb looked excellent in this game. I give Kevin Kolb a lot of flack because I don't think he throws the football to Larry Fitzgerald enough. I don't think he makes good decisions with the football. I think that he sees ghosts sometimes when in the pocket. None of those things occurred in this game. He got the football to Larry Fitzgerald early and often in this game. You see it pay dividends, Mr. Kolb. You were decisive in the pocket. When things were there, you took it. When it wasn't, you got rid of the football. You got out of there. You looked excellent. This is what they paid you to do. You showed the Eagles what they were missing, what they got rid of, what they could have had. And you went out and showed well for yourself in this game. Your numbers were excellent. And I thought in the scheme of the game, in the flow of the game, you were proficient. And you did everything the Cardinals needed you to do. And you really took this team to a victory. If you can play this way for the duration of the season, the Cardinals will contend. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm not stuttering. I'm not crazy. If Kevin Kolb can play this way, which I doubt he can, but if he can play this way all season long, the Arizona Cardinals will contend for the NFC West divisional crown. Yes, I said it. I did not stutter. They're playing really good football. That defense is playing lights out right now. You want to know how lights out this defense is playing? They limit the Patriots to under 20 points, and they limit the Philadelphia Eagles to less than 10 points. An offense that is very explosive in this league. Yes, they were without one of their big play receivers. Doesn't matter, though. This Eagles team has weapons. They didn't get it done. And it was in large part to this Arizona Cardinals defense as the Cardinals rout the Philadelphia Eagles at home 27-6, taking their record to a surprising 3-0 on this season and first place in the NFC West as the San Francisco 49ers dropped their first game today. Yes, the Arizona Cardinals are all alone in first place. Okay, we're only in week 3 of the season. Doesn't matter who had the Arizona Cardinals ever being in first place, in this division, maybe outside of after week 1. I know I didn't. I know you didn't. Don't lie. You didn't either. And so this Cardinals team is playing good football. If you're the Eagles, a lot of questions. A lot of questions because you're 2-1. Yes, you are 2-1. But you easily and arguably should be 0-3 right now. You've been skating on thin ice the whole season, getting away with multiple turnover games and still finding a way to win, losing the turnover battle. You're probably minus 4 or 5 in the turnover battle this season. Yet you're 2-1, but that's something that you can't continue to get away with throughout the course of the season. You're fighting a losing battle, and in the end, you're going to end up losing if you continue to turn the football over, as you did 3 more times on Sunday. You're now 2-1, but you've got questions to answer, and you got to figure this thing out and figure it out fast, because if you don't, you could find yourself slipping in that NFC East very, very quickly. Looky here, looky here. We find ourselves with another upset on Sunday as the Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Oakland to take on the Raiders. No one saw this one coming. I thought that I laughed at the Raiders. I laughed at the prospects of them winning this football game. I told the Steelers all you had to do was show up. Just show up, play Pittsburgh Steelers football, and you would win this game going away. And you had opportunities to do that. You dominated this football game in the first half. You had nothing to show for it. You dominated up until the fourth quarter. Had nothing to show for it. You made too many mistakes in this game, Steelers. I told you to play Pittsburgh Steelers football and you would win. You didn't play Pittsburgh Steelers football because Pittsburgh Steelers football requires you to not turn the football over. Requires you to be smart with the football. And that was something that you were not in this football game. You gave up big plays, something that the Steelers don't do often. You turned the football over, something that you did in this game and probably should have had more turnovers. And yes, these officials were bad in this game and probably could have given you some more calls. And you could say it both ways. I mean, Darius Heyward-Bey got knocked unconscious with a helmet-to-helmet shot. It wasn't called. So it could go both ways. Nonetheless, I thought that you came out in this game early on, passed the football. Again, you've done a great job in this beginning of this season of using the short passing game. I think Todd Haley has made a concerted effort to get the ball out of Ben Roethlisberger's hands early on in the game, early on the play. He doesn't want Ben playing background football. He doesn't want Ben holding the ball in his hands for 7 seconds, allowing this offensive line to look bad by giving up sacks when it's really not their fault. And so they get the ball out of his hands quick. Ben is throwing a lot of short passes, getting it into his receivers' hands, allowing them to make plays after the catch. But give credit to this Raiders team. The Steelers dominated on the offensive side of the football in this game. However, it didn't have anything to show for it in the way of points. They were dominating this football game, and yet at halftime, the Steelers were clinging to a 3 or 6 point lead. It wasn't a dominating performance on the scoreboard, although on the field it was a very dominating performance by this Pittsburgh Steelers team. You go to the second half, and I thought that the Steelers started to separate. And they had 2 or 3 different occasions where they had 10-point leads and were looking to get away from this Raiders team, but they could not put the clamps on this Raiders offense. And even when they find a way to get it out of their hands, their own offense, that of the Steelers, would turn the football over. I thought Antonio Brown had a fabulous game, but his turnover was a key in this game, because if he just picks that first down up, I think the Steelers go for more points. This Raiders defense was having a hard time stopping the Steelers on offense. But they shot themselves in the foot, turned the football over, gave up too many big plays. I thought the Steelers gave up too many big plays in this game. Allowed the Raiders to hang around. And when you allow a subpar team to hang around at home, you give them confidence. You give them a feeling that they can win the football game. That's what the Steelers did. They made the Raiders feel like they had a shot. They hung around. And anytime you're at home, you have a chance. I said that on Friday in the preview. I said that on Wednesday when I did my Soul Survivor segment. I said, you can take these Steelers if you want, but I wouldn't advise you to do that on a team that's on the road, because they're on the road. Anytime you're on the road, you have a chance to lose. Home teams have an advantage, albeit a small one in certain instances. It's still an advantage. You're at home. And that road team has to go on the road and find a way to get it done. And I thought that the Raiders did a good job of just hanging in there, hanging tough. They made big plays. McFadden made that big run. And you know, they got the turnovers when they needed to. And they got, you know, big plays in the passing game when they needed to. And I thought that this Raiders team did just enough to hang in and win and steal this ball game, and that's what they did. I thought the Steelers gave up too many big plays, had too many blunders on the defensive side of the football, turned the ball over in the most inopportune times, and it cost them. Cost them a victory on the road against a team that they're supposed to beat, against a team that 9 out of 10 times they would beat, but this 10th time, they found a way to lose. As Sebastian Janikowski nails home a field goal as time expires as the Raiders in a loss that no one saw the Pittsburgh Steelers getting, lose on the road to the Oakland Raiders 34-31, giving head coach Dennis Allen his first victory as Raiders head coach. And this is a costly loss for the Steelers because in a season where the odds say you're supposed to lose. Every 4 seasons, the Steelers are not supposed to make the playoffs. That's what the odds say. They didn't make it in 2000. They didn't make it in 2004. They didn't make it in 2008. So everything suggests that in 2012, you're supposed to miss the playoffs. The Ravens are a team right now that, you know, they're without Terrell Suggs. They're playing a tough, you know, stretch of games right now. You need to be taking advantage of the fact that they could lose at any moment. You know, they were playing the Patriots last night. They found a way to gut it out and win that game, but they could have lost that game very easily. And you need to be able to take advantage of that. This team is not getting any younger. This is an older, veteran Pittsburgh Steelers football team. You need to be at home if at all possible in the playoffs. But you need to find a way to get there first. And losing to the Raiders isn't going to help your cause. If you don't make the playoffs, if you end up 9-7 and just barely missing the playoffs, this is one of those games you look back on throughout the course of the season and say, that game right there is one in particular that we probably should have won. That would have put us over the top, would have got us in the playoffs. Instead, you drop this game to the Raiders 34-31. Now you're 1-2 on the season. The Raiders are 1-2, and you guys are heading in totally different directions. You've lost 2 out of 3. The Raiders, winning their first game of the season, are just happy to be in the win column. And now they look up, and they're only 1 game removed from first place in their division. Meanwhile, you look up in your division, you're 1 game removed from first place, but you should be tied for first place right now, not 1 game behind the Baltimore Ravens. And so if you're the Steelers, you got to get this thing on track because your division is tough. You haven't seen the Bengals yet. You haven't seen the Ravens yet. And even the Browns are usually a tough out for you. And so you can't afford to lose games to teams you're supposed to beat. And that's what you did. And so now you have some soul searching to do as you need to reach down deep and start to win ball games and get that confidence and swagger back that you're supposed to have because you are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's see if in the next couple weeks you're able to do that. Also, big win for the Raiders. Don't know if this is indicative of what they're going to be this season, but nonetheless, A way to get it done at home against a team that was supposed to beat you, that you didn't or shouldn't have had a chance against. Way to mount up the intestinal fortitude to get it done at home against an opponent that, you know, many had you getting drubbed by. Congratulations to Dennis Allen on his first win as a head coach in the National Football League. And now you look up in the standings and you're only one game behind the division-leading San Diego Chargers. So there you have it. Now you're right back in the thick of things. Let's see what you do with that. After starting off an abysmal 0-2 and looking like you didn't have a chance, looking like one of the worst teams in the league, now you have a shot in that division. Let's see what you do with it. Off of that momentum that you gained from that momentous win you just got over the Steelers. And then the last game of the afternoon through our slate finds us in Denver, where the Broncos took on the Houston Texans in a game that I thought the Broncos had every opportunity to win if they wanted to seize the opportunity. I thought that they came out early in this football game, got an early safety, had an opportunity to put 7 on the board, did not do so. Had to settle for a field goal, but you're up 5-0. Let's see what this defense is about. The Texans are an explosive offense that, if given time, can carve you up. And that's exactly what they did to your defense. The thing that's so disheartening about this loss for the Broncos is the fact that, much like the Redskins, you felt like if you just got the quarterback that could stabilize your offense, put a few pieces around him, with the way your defense was playing a year ago, you're going to win ball games because your defense was the strength of your team. And if you get the quarterback to come in and solidify you on the offensive end, you're going to win ball games. You're going to win 10, 9, 10, 11 ball games just because your defense is that good and your offense is that much better. So if you're the Redskins, if you're the Broncos, you have to be so disappointed in the way your defense is playing right now. This defense is getting ate up. There's no other way to say it. They're getting carved up by good defense. Now look, I don't care that you're playing the Falcons. I don't care that you're playing the Texans. Yes, these are elite offenses in this league. I don't care. If you're a good defense, you slow them down somewhat. You haven't done that in this young season. You've been taken advantage of by every single offense that you play. And even the Steelers, to some degree, took advantage of you. You know, you just did enough to beat them, but even they took advantage of you at times. And so, I don't know if Dennis Allen's departure has a lot to do with it, or Jack Del Rio coming in and it's a different scheme. I don't know what it is, but you guys are not playing good on the defensive side of the football. And right now, that's making all the difference. Because instead of Peyton Manning coming in and augmenting that defense and coming in and just scoring points enough to win, he's having to beat teams in shootouts. He's not ready for that yet. He didn't sign up for that. He signed up to come in, help a team that was ready to win now, come in, play good offense, you know, every opportunity that the offense gets, give them a chance to score, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown, and do just enough that this defense can come out and be aggressive instead of playing to not to lose, playing to cement victories. And so they're not having a chance to do that on offense because the defense is not playing good at all. They're giving up points. And in this game to the Texans, it was evident early on that the Texans were going to be able to get whatever they wanted on the offensive side of the football. Now, on their real first possession, because they got backed up on their first possession, that led to their safety. They were backed up. Bad drive, safety. The next time they got the football, though, up top, Andre Johnson, touchdown, just like that. Your 5-0 lead is erased, and the Texans never looked back after that. They jumped on you. Schaub made big plays to Lestar Jean, to Andre Johnson, to Kevin Walter. They made big plays in the passing game. Arian Foster destroyed your defense. Over 100 yards rushing for the first time this season for Arian Foster. He did whatever he wanted to do to you on the defensive side of the football. They ran all over you in the running game. They dominated the Denver Broncos, keeping them out of the end zone for the most part in this football game. And yeah, you were able to make it close, but the Texans were never threatened in this game. You never made them feel like they were in danger of losing this game. They came out and they did what I asked them to do. Dominate from start to finish in a football game. Yeah, the ending score was a 6-point deficit for the Broncos. And you only end up winning by 6, but I don't care about that. You look dominant in this game. At one point, you were winning this game, 30-11. You showed me what you have, what you can do, and you did this on the road against what was supposed to be, quote unquote, a good football team. You annihilated them, and that's what I wanted to see out of you guys. Peyton Manning had a solid game, but he only completed 50% of his passes. No, he didn't turn the football over, but you didn't need him to. You kept them out of the end zone for the most part, made them a one-dimensional football team. You shut down Willis McGahee in that running game, made Peyton Manning beat you, and he's not at that point yet. And it's not just him. This whole offense is not at that point where they can carve someone up, put up, 3 straight touchdowns in a matter of 7 minutes and get back into a ball game. They're not there yet. And so you took advantage of them. You went on a road, got a nice victory. And this Texans team is looking like a team that's putting their name in the hat among the AFC elites, saying, look, if someone's going to the Super Bowl, don't forget about us. Don't forget that you're going to have to go through Houston to get there. This team looks poised to make a run this year. And like I said, there's no one in the AFC South to challenge them. So they're going to run away with that division. Now the rest of the AFC has to worry about them running away with the AFC in general. Who's going to stop the Houston Texans? Because they're playing solid football on both the offensive and defensive side of the football. What are you going to do? The Texans destroyed the Broncos in this game, but the final score ended up 31-25 as the Broncos, as they've done all season long, make a late charge and make the game look closer than what it really was. But this was a dominant performance by the Texans, who win the game 31-25, taking their record to 3-0, dropping the Broncos to 1-2 on the season. And this Texans team is for real. And if you already knew that before the season started, I don't know if you knew they were for real as in terms of being one of the best teams in all of the National Football League, but they're for real. They're not a joke. They're not just one of these teams that are around just to make it to the playoffs, win a game, and then go home. They're looking to go to the Super Bowl. They're making statements early in this season that if you want to win, you're going to have to come through Houston to do so. They went on the road against a team that hadn't lost this season at home and put it to them. And that's a good win for the Texans. And if you're the Broncos, you got a long way to go. It's a long season. You got a lot of maturing to do as a team. Your defense is not playing well right now. Your offense still has a lot of kinks to work out. And so you drop another one to a good football team. You've played 3 good football teams to start the season. So being 1-2 isn't a surprise. You've played teams that most teams would be 0-3 against, yet you're 1-2. So don't hang your head. What you need to do, go back to the drawing board, go back to the practice field, get better, get more continuity on offense, get this defense on track, and start winning football games. Start having what you're doing in the film room, on the practice field, translate to the football field on Sundays, and you'll be fine because you have talent. You have guys that can get it done. You just need to execute better and put the ball in the end zone and score touchdowns and be better on defense and stop teams from scoring touchdowns. Broncos are 1-2. Texans are 0-3. We'll see what these teams do moving forward in this 2012 season. Sunday night football, the New England Patriots at the Baltimore Ravens. Chris Collinsworth, Al Michaels. I've said it before. I say it again. It doesn't get much better than that. I mean, this was a heck of a matchup. I told you I knew it was going to be a nail-biter. I had to score 24-23 when I did the preview, and I picked this game. It ended up being a 1-point ball game. Came down to the wire just as I suspected it would. 2 teams that played this game extremely hard, extremely physical. It was a well-played football game. I thought that both of these teams came out and tried to establish themselves as the dominant team, as the alpha male. And it was a very physical football game. A lot of guys throwing their bodies around recklessly. It was fun to watch. If you're a football fan, this is what you sign up for on a Sunday night. No better way to cap off your Sunday of football than to sit down and watch two teams that you know are going to be around at the end of the season, duke it out, and have it go down to the wire. This game was excellent. Edge of your seat thriller. Brady came out. He was sharp. He was hitting guys. I thought this offensive line did a great job of protecting him early on in this game. They ran the ball effectively, did the Patriots. Wasn't overly proficient as they had been in the first two games of the season, but it did enough to keep this team, this Ravens defense, honest. Brady was finding Wes Welker finally, after him not starting last week, not getting the football to him early in this season. They went to Welker, and I think a lot of that has to do with the Hernandez injury too. I thought Chris Collinsworth made a great point that, that diamond duo is such a big part of what the Patriots do. And a lot of times they line Hernandez up in the slot, and that's Wes Welker's spot. And with Hernandez being out for a little bit, they're going to put Welker in that slot and let him go to work. And I thought he did a fabulous job of doing that, being Wes Welker last night, getting open, making plays after the catch. And this was a great football game. Torrey Smith, can't say enough, after losing your brother, earlier in the morning, to come out and to even play. And I know a lot of times when something tragic like that happens in a player's life, the football field and the game itself acts as a sanctuary. It gives you a chance to clear your mind and to take your mind away from the pain and the hurt that you're going through for 3 hours. And I thought that Torrey Smith came out and played one whale of a ball game. And you can't say enough about the effort and the mental toughness and just the sheer will and determination that Torrey Smith put forth in this game, staring at so much adversity in his life. Football is a game. I think sometimes people forget that, and that there are much more important and bigger things in life than a game of football. And he came out and he really showed what he was made of as a person. And I can do nothing but tip my imaginary cap to you and say no one can feel your pain and feel what you're going through. But you had a hell of a performance last night, and you are one hell of a man for what you did last night. And again, our hearts go out to you and your family for your loss. And no one needs to go through what you went through, but the league needs more guys like you, more people that can look adversity straight in the face and overcome it and be a bigger and better person because of it. And you were everything that being a man embodies last night, and I tip my cap to you, Torrey Smith. And you had a huge bearing on this game. You caught 2 touchdown passes in a game where your mind could have been wandering in several different places. You were focused. You went out and got it done, and you were an asset to your team, and you were a big reason why your team was able to come out with a victory. Kudos to Torrey Smith last night. Joe Flacco played a solid game. He did throw an interception. He did look shaky at times, but it's Joe Flacco. And I call him the unflappable Joe Flacco for a reason, because Joe Flacco knows how to get it done when his team needs it most. I already told you, when the game is on the line and you need a play, you need a possession, you need a quarterback to take his team down the field. You could talk about Peyton Manning. You could talk about Aaron Rodgers. You could talk about Drew Brees. Forget all of them. Give me Joe Flacco. Give me Joe Flacco. Because I know Joe Flacco is going to do his part to put my team in a position to either score a touchdown or kick a field goal. Whatever I need, Joe Flacco is going to put me in a position to get it. Now, is it going to happen? I don't know, because he can't do everything himself. But what I do know is he's going to do his part to make sure that this team is going to have a chance to succeed. So give me Joe Flacco with 1 minute and 48 seconds left on the clock, no timeouts, and I got to go 83 yards. Give me Joe Flacco. You can have Aaron Rodgers. You can have Eli Manning. You can have Drew Brees. Give me Joe Flacco. I'll ride with Joe Flacco any day of the week. And he showed it again. Team needed him to take them down the field. And what did he do? Take them down the field, get a last-second field goal, and game winner. Everybody drive home safely. Good night. And the Baltimore Ravens notch a big win at home in an early season matchup of two powerhouses in the AFC. Get the win 31-30 on Sunday Night Football against the New England Patriots, running their record to 2-1, dropping the New England Patriots to 1-2 on the season. Patriots have had a rough go of it early on this season, but they're going to be around when this thing is all said and done. The effort that they put forth in the game that they played last night was good enough to beat, 29 teams in the league last night. Just one of them wasn't the Baltimore Ravens. It just wasn't enough on the road to beat the Ravens. But the game that they played was enough to beat, just about every team in the league. But again, the Ravens are a different breed, and they were able to come away with the win. What a heck of a ball game it was, though. 31-30, Ravens 2-1, Patriots fall to 1-2. And so that's going to do it for the week that was, and us going slate skating through the slate of games that happened on Sunday. Of course, there's another game tonight on Monday, Night Football, that sees the Green Bay Packers traveling to Seattle to take on the Seattle Seahawks. And what should be a great matchup of two teams coming off of big victories at home, looking to improve their records. Both of these teams are 1-1 on the season, and both of them are looking to improve to 2-1 and looking to build upon the win that they got last week. And these Seahawks are at home. It's going to be a tough matchup for the Packers because these Seahawks are a tough team at home. You know what they can do. You know what they bring to the table. They do have a rookie quarterback in Russell Wilson. They do have beast mode out there in Marshawn Lynch. They're getting healthy at receiver. They're making plays out there, and they're playing some really, really good defense. Quietly, no one's talking about the defense that they're playing. But I'm telling you right now, this Seahawks team is shaping up to be one of the best defenses in all of football. And their secondary is second to none with the corners and the safeties that they trot out there on the field. And they're getting after teams, getting pressure on their quarterbacks, forcing them into errant throws, and this secondary makes you pay for mistakes. And so this Packers team has their work cut out for them if they're not going to come in and execute. I thought they got away with a win against the Bears because the Bears just made too many mistakes. That defense for the Bears played good enough to win that game. But Jay Cutler threw 4 interceptions. They lost Matt Forte in that ball game. They couldn't overcome the mistakes that they made. The Packers did nothing special on offense. Did not look, like the team that we saw last year. And they only put up 23 points, even though they were able to sack Jay Cutler 6 or 7 times, force him into 4 interceptions, score a touchdown on special teams. And they only scored 23 points. They were only able to muster 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals. And so this Packers team is looking for their identity, looking to find themselves on the offensive side of football. Are they going to run the football with Cedric Benson? Are they going to throw the football with Aaron Rodgers? I would like to think that they're going to put the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands and let him be the man that he's been for the last 3-4 seasons. The man that was the MVP of the league last year, the man that set records in this league in multiple categories last year as he set this league on fire with his accuracy and his production in the 2011 season. And so I expect them to turn him loose. They get Greg Jennings back tonight, which is a big part of their offense. I look for them to start to right the ship and become the team that we feel they are in the NFC North, and to start being dominant on the offensive side of football. If they can do that tonight, that would be a big statement and a big step forward for this 2012 Packers team, because this Seattle Seahawks team is good on defense. And if the Packers can go out and make them look pedestrian on the defensive side of football, That says a lot about where they're starting to get to on the offensive end. If they don't, wouldn't surprise me because this Seattle Seahawks defense is that good. But I expect the Packers, nonetheless, to win. I expect this defense to play a big part in them winning because they're going up against a member of the starting five, Russell Wilson, who has been solid. Nothing earth-shattering in the first 2 weeks, but he hasn't cost his team games either. He's been a game manager. He's made enough plays to help his team win. I think they're going to get pressure on him. They're going to make it tough on him. Clay Matthews has been a man possessed this year, already with 6 sacks in 2 games. And so they're going to get pressure on him, force him to make throws. Let's see if he can run. You know, if a lane opens up, he needs to tuck it and run if he can. If he's indecisive back there and allows this defense to peel on him, get pressure on him, force him into throws that he knows he shouldn't be making, this Packers team is going to win this game, and I expect them to win, and I have them winning this game 24-17 against these Seattle Seahawks, running their record to 2-1, dropping the Seahawks to 1-2 on the season. So that's a touchdown. Go ahead and throw it up. I want to tack on this quick extra point. I had another one of those weeks where, you know, I just couldn't seem to be on the right side of the pick. And the bad part about it is I talked up a lot of these wins that I could have had. I talked them up. I talked up the Vikings over the 49ers. Of course, I didn't have the balls to pull the trigger on that. I talked up the Titans over the Lions. Didn't have the balls to pull the trigger there as well. And so, you know, I thought that the Saints would get it done. I called that my sole survivor pick of the week. If you went with that pick, you're done. But if you went with the Steelers or you went with the 49ers, you're done, and you're done as well. So those were the 3 safest picks of the week, and all 3 of the teams lost. That gives you an idea and some perspective as to how wacky this season has been thus far. If you've picked the Cardinals at all this season, then you moved on to the next week. I just didn't make enough good picks. The Redskins let me down again. And soon I'm going to have to stop picking with my heart and start picking with my head when dealing with the Redskins because they're not good on the defensive side of the football. And I'll talk about them more in the Warpath Warrior segment of the show. But they let me down. That was another loss that I had. You look at the Vikings game, of course, I didn't have the balls to do that. Who had the Raiders notching a victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers? I didn't even give them a minute chance to win that game. They jumped up and bit me there. The Chargers embarrassed me at home. And the Falcons are for real. The Chargers are not. And so I got embarrassed there. I thought that the Texans would fall to the Broncos at home. I had a rude awakening there for me as well. And so I could have been better. I could have said that the Texans are the more established team. Peyton Manning needs to show me what he's about. I could have went that direction. I could have went in the direction of the Falcons and said that, you know, the Falcons are the superior team, which I thought going into the game. But in those 2 games, the Texans versus Broncos and the Falcons versus the San Diego Chargers, I thought that the home teams had the advantage because they were home. I was wrong. And again, I paid for it. And so if you're going to make decisions like that, I need to just start picking the better team. Pick the best team. Forget where the game is being played. Unless they're 2 evenly matched teams. I said in the preview that the Texans were the better team, but they weren't home. I said that the Falcons were the better team, but they weren't home. Just pick the better team. Unless the teams are evenly matched, there is no better team, and then home is the deciding factor, then you use that as the thing that tips the balance of the scales in one direction. But if we're talking about 2 teams playing, one's at home, but the other team on the road is better, just pick the better team, please. Right now, I need Monday night just to go 8-8. Right now, I'm 7-8. I lost 8 games. Those 8 losses being Indianapolis losing to Jacksonville. Didn't have that one. The Saints losing at home to the Chiefs. Didn't have that one. The Vikings losing to or beating the 49ers at home. Didn't have that one. The Titans beating the Lions at home. Didn't have that one. You look at the Texans beating the Broncos. Didn't have that one. Didn't have the Falcons defeating the Chargers at all. Didn't have the Redskins losing at home to the Bengals. And so there you have it. 8 losses, 7 wins. Need tonight just to stay above water and get to 500 for the week. One thing I will say, though, is I'm learning who's good and who's not. And I feel confident about who's good and who's not. And I'm learning who I can rely on and who I can trust. After week 4, at week 4 and beyond, I feel like there's no more excuses. I don't have any more excuses for myself. Either I'm going to get it done or I'm not, because I should know who's good now. I see who's playing solid football and who's not, who's going to be a joke and who's not, and who has the potential to do something and who doesn't. And so I feel confident where I am now, but again, rough week on me, man. All I could say, as I did for the first play of the Redskins-Bengals game, was, wow. And that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for joining me. Drop something in the inbox at inthelabroom@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook. Like me on Facebook at In The Lab Room. I'm on Twitter. Same thing, In The Lab Room. That's the Twitter handle. Thank you for joining me. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll come back, give analysis on that, and we'll move into everything that happened in that game. Put a cap on week 3 and start to move forward to week 2 tomorrow and the rest of the week. So enjoy the game. Let's hope I'm able to stay at 500 with this victory and stay above water. And let's hope that I'm coming back with happy feelings tomorrow because I was able to win this game. I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the game. Same time, same place. I'm out.